Greetings from the Jazz Cloud. I'm Richie Zellon, and I want to welcome you to the Jazz Guitar Channel. Early on in my career, I remember hearing one of my favorite jazz musicians saying that if you want to grow your improvisational vocabulary, you've got to listen to the masters and steal like crazy. It's called transcribing. And not only does it allow you to get inside the mind of the player, so to speak, but it also happens to be a great ear training exercise. So today's phrases are the result of this process. And I am featuring 3 16th note phrases by a very influential jazz guitarist whom I had the good fortune to meet and personally learn from when I first started studying this music we call jazz. As you already know, I am referring to none other than Pat Martino. The first phrase we're going to learn is from Pat's solo on Days of Wine and Roses off the album Exit. And this is over a major 2-5-1 cadence. And before I teach you this, I want you to know that I've transposed this from the original 2-5 in the recording that resolves G, C7 to F. I've transposed it up here to A. And it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Let me play it slower. 1, 2. Let's analyze this. Pat starts on the 5th of the B minor chord here on the 5th string. Goes up to the flatted 7. And next we have a 2-note enclosure to the 1 with a 2 from above and a chromatic from below, finally resolving to the 1. And we're going to see that Pat uses a lot of enclosures to the root. And this is something that he picked up listening to Wes Montgomery. And if you've followed Pat Martino and know about his background, you know that he was deeply influenced by Wes. And you can check out a previous lesson I did, 5 Licks You Should Steal from Wes Montgomery, where you'll see that Wes did identically the same thing in various solos, always doing enclosures to the root, to the 1. And we're going to see this in the following phrases by Pat too. So keep that in mind. So once again, 5, flat 7, enclosure to the 1. And then he continues up the scale, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. And now he does a chromatic approach to the 13 as he starts over the 5 chord, the E7 in this case. Chromatic from below, approaching the 13. And he goes down the scale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A chromatic passing tone down to the flatted 7. Plays the 9. Leaps down to the 6. Notice that I'm calling this a 6 and not a 13. Because it's an approach note in a register that it feels more like he's thinking of it as an approach note to the 5th. You can call it a 13. And then he goes back up to 1, flat 7, And he does what we call an unprepared approach from below chromatically to the fifth. And finally plays the third over the one chord, in this case, the A major 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. If you are having a hard time understanding the analysis of these phrases, either because you don't understand the theory and terminology I'm using, before continuing, I just want to add that I have a couple of comprehensive online courses where I explain all of this stuff step by step, as well as its practical application in many, many carefully structured exercises. It's called the Bebop Guitar Improv Series. And you will find a link in the info section down below if you're interested in checking it out. And now for our second phrase, here is a minor 2-5-1, this time off of Pat's solo over Road Song, written by Wes Montgomery, from the album Footprints. And it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me play that a little slower. 3, 4. Let's analyze this. I really feel like Pat is superimposing an E flat major 7 sharp 11 over the original A minor 7 flat 5. It's got pretty much a lot of the same notes, only that it seems like he's thinking over the E flat major 7 sharp 11. Pat does a lot of superimposing, by the way, which is he thinks over a different scale or mode related to the original changes. So he can visualize or think of the notes in different patterns that, I don't know, might be a lot more convenient for him. I can't say. This would be the sharp 11. This would be the 3, 2, chromatic to the 1. And then he plays an arpeggio, a major 7th arpeggio, and this is what makes it so evident that he's thinking over the E flat major 7. 1, 3, 5, major 7, and then he repeats the major 7th arpeggio for another octave. Again, 1, 3, 5, major 7. And plays the 9th, chromatic down to the 1. We can also view this as a double chromatic approach to the 1. And then he goes to the 5 chord, starting on the root, flat 7, 5, 4, 3, 1. And notice that now we have another enclosure to the 1. This time it's a chromatic from above and a chromatic from below, enclosing the 1. And then he leaps down below and does a double chromatic approach to the sharp 5 or flatted 13. And proceeds up the scale, flat 7, 1, flat 9, sharp 9, and finally resolves to the 1 minor chord, which in this case is G minor, and he resolves to the 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hope you are enjoying this lesson, and if this is your first time, please consider subscribing, and don't forget to click the bell icon so you won't miss any of my upcoming lessons. And before teaching you the final phrase, I've got some good news for you. All of these phrases are available absolutely free in a PDF book I wrote called 20th Century Jazz Guitar. And it's available for download from my website, jazzguitar.richiezellon.com, by just subscribing to my free newsletter. And it includes 5 more phrases by Pat Martino and a bunch of other transcriptions from all the most influential jazz guitarists of the 20th century. So for those of you interested, you will find a link in the info section down below. And now for our final phrase. This one is over a major 2-5-1, again from the initial recording that we examined on the first phrase, and that's from Days of Wine and Roses from the album Exit. And this third one's a real tough one, so there's a lot of meat in it. If you set out to learn it, it'll keep you busy for a while. And it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whoa. Okay, let me play it slower. A lot slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's analyze this. Now, it's really important to try and visualize the underlying chord that's related to the scale that you're playing. In this case, it starts on a G minor, and we're using a Dorian, a G Dorian. So this fingering is related to this shape, root on 5th. So Pat starts on the flatted 7, goes to the 5th, flat 3, and then a double chromatic approach down to the root. That can also be viewed as a 9, and a chromatic passing tone to the 1. And now we have an enclosure to the 6. Flat 7, chromatic from below to 6. And here it seems as if Pat is either implying a G minor 6 chord or anticipating the upcoming C7 chord. It goes down to what would be the 11th, the 9, 5, flat 3, 1, 6, 9. So that's over that G minor chord, G minor 6 chord, that is, which is pretty much the same thing as a C7, you know. So, and then we're on to the C7, the 5 chord, and he starts out with the flatted 7, goes up to the root, and then does a double chromatic approach to the 3rd. And now he starts a 3-note enclosure, a 3-note enclosure to the 5. So he does a 4, a chromatic from above, another chromatic, this time from below, and finally resolves to the 5. That's a 3-note enclosure. And that is immediately followed by a 2-note enclosure to the 3, 4, 2, 3. And this concept of playing these different enclosures and different approach notes, it's known as targeting. And you can see clearly when you analyze these solos that Pat is thinking specifically over the arpeggio and targeting different chord tones, using different approach tones. Okay, so after this enclosure, 4, 2, 3, he goes down to the 2 and back up to the 3, to the 5, leaps up then to the 9, and he's ready to go to the 1 chord, in this case an F major 7. And this is very diatonic from here on, over this F major 7. 5, 3, 2, 1, or 5, 3 if you want to visualize this as a 9. I see it more as a 2, the way it's functioning. A 9 would stand out more. It would be a resolution point. But here it's more of an approach to the 1. Then he goes to the 7th, major 7th, and a passing tone, chromatic passing tone to the 6, or 13 if you want to look at it as such. But he keeps going to the 5, 3, 2, 1, major 7, and 2, again, resolving to the 3, the 7, and ending on the 9. So like I said, visualize the underlying chord, in this case G minor 7, Dorian, root on 5, and then C7, because he's starting. So you want to visualize this chord, and for the 1 chord, an F major 7. One, two, three, 4. Well, I truly hope you found these 3 phrases as inspiring as I did. As usual, I really appreciate your comments and likes. And if you enjoyed this lesson and haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Thanks for watching, and peace be with you. Hasta la vista.